This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Flash
and me.
What are you? You're.
I don't.
Yeah,
that's right.
Flash is
Out
gone.
there.
Boom is here, and Wind is sitting in for Flash today.
Yeah, it's hot wind. Where is Flash?
He's drunk.
He's in West Point. He's in West Point at a Rotary meeting.
That's what he tells people. I know.
Julian,
Yeah, I got a call about 3:00 this morning from the from the bar.
From the pokey?
Yeah, Tony's not gonna make it. He's he's dragging himself out right now. He's probably gonna sleep on the bathroom floor. So don't expect him at 7.
Nice.
Kidding. Good guy, Greco. Good morning. That's good.
Good morning.
Good morning, Plastic Jesus. Thank you for joining us this morning. Point him right at the camera so everybody can see him. There we go.
Thumbs up. A big-
Thumbs up and the big point. That's our mascot sent in by a listener, which we appreciate because often Tony and I start the show with the old Imus theme song. I don't care if it rains or freezes, as long as got my plastic Jesus riding on the
I know that
dashboard
song.
of my car.
I know it. I know it from the Paul Newman movie. What was that movie?
The one where they play pool?
No. Cool Hand Luke.
That song was in Cool Hand
I
Luke?
think that's where.
I'd like a listener. I'd like to fact check you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Mr. Vice President, I'd like to
do.
fact check you.
I'm glad you fact checked my first thing because 2 or 3 later it'd
It's
be a
done.
little be
It's forgotten.
sketchy. Yeah, but
Well,
now-
we appreciate that. I am a proud Christian and glad to have that here. I hope that the St. Augustine Cartel is listening. Those are my church-going friends down. Well, some of them, not Bad Andy, but we have dragged Bad Andy to church a time or two. And
You're supposed to drag them. Speaking of dragging, I remember when one of these would be on the dashboard of every car when I was a
Sure,
kid.
with the-
well, not she's mostly Mary and St. Christopher.
yep, that's
What happened
I
to
think
that?
probably
Why
the
did people
theme.
stop doing that?
Because America has
listen, can I withdraw the
degenerated
question now?
into a non-Christian country.
I want to withdraw.
Yeah,
that
you want to withdraw that
if I
question
can.
before I start ranting?
Yes.
About taking
I
God,
think maybe it's-
taking God
maybe
out
because
of
they
everything.
Flew in accidents. and
Maybe
took
that's
out
why
eyes.
we're burning to the ground. Maybe that's why we have disease and petulance and poverty because we've taken the Lord and Jesus out of everything.
Aren't you glad you tuned in this
Oh,
morning
yeah.
to wake up to such
Is it-
joyous
is it
sounds
at
from your
least-
radio?
Is it at least reasonable to consider that? While I realize and recognize that
Just
there
as
are
good
many
a chance
factors.
it was a backlash to having to wear seatbelts. Because I remember when everybody had a fit about that.
Oh yeah, we did.
was the end
It's
of
like
the
the
world.
mask. That was the
It's
mask
exactly
of the 70s.
the mask.
Yeah.
You're taking our rights away. Why
I'm not
should we
gonna
wear
do- I'd rather
seatbelts?
launch through the windshield in a
That's right.
head-on collision.
That's right.
Yeah. Very good. Guy Greco, Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. I'm sorry, dude. I got to look
I have
because
it
there are
every-
2 of them.
I have it all over.
Yeah, Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union representative and co-host for Thunder Thursdays. Welcome. Thank you for coming. Thanks for getting up so early.
It was
You didn't-
nothing.
obviously, you didn't play last night.
No, I did not. I haven't played. It's the most depressing thing.
I know,
I went
right?
to the annual musicians tournament, which was cut down to 3 foursomes.
Wow,
we went
how
to
exciting!
Yeah,
You're guaranteed a top prize.
yeah, we won.
A gold, silver, or bronze.
We won, and I'm terrible at that game. But it's
Well,
best
that's
ball.
too bad.
But they're, here are people that play all over the world. Some of them, and play with very famous people, and they got nothing. They got nothing. Musicians have nothing coming in. It's the last thing somebody wants is for you to attract the crowd, and
I know,
that's
right?
kind of by
Isn't that a
design
shame?
what musicians have been trained to do their whole life when they play
And
out.
goodbye to Eddie Van Halen. He was an incredible. For my
I
generation,
can't
I'm
believe he was
56
60.
years.
I can't believe he was 65 years old.
Really, you think he was younger or older?
I thought he was much younger.
Well, he was the rock star when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Eddie. Everyone had.
Yeah,
Van
in the
Halen.
80s, yeah.
Yeah, it was the 80s.
I listened- everybody
graduated
listened
from
to
high
Van
school
Halen.
in '82.
Yeah.
To Van Halen playing everywhere.
Yeah.
I learned a lot about him I didn't know through his obituary. Right.
I didn't know he
Not
was that
always
sick
the case.
either. So, yeah, he had throat cancer, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, I didn't know he was Dutch.
I didn't know
there
he
you
was Dutch
go.
either.
And that he wrote all his songs in a cocaine and alcohol-filled haze.
Yes,
which he
probably
said
did
made
not
him
have
more
Plastic
creative.
Jesus on any
Yeah,
of
he
his
did
dance.
not.
His brother's still alive, right? His
demo.
brother was the drummer?
Yes.
Yes. Alex.
And they had Sammy Hagar in the band. They, of course,
Name that comes right to the
Jane-
top of your head.
David Lee Roth.
Joe-
David Lee
Guy,
Roth. I was going to
that's
say Jamie Lee Roth, but it's Jamie's Crying by David Lee Roth. And you remember the urban legend. I don't know if anybody, everybody
Jamie
my
Lee
age.
Curtis.
No, everybody my age that grew up here, though, that maybe went to local high schools.
Why do you have to exclude me?
I'm sorry. I know you're from Glasgow, and that's a different
I'm
area.
from Kingston. I'm just not your age.
Remember the urban legend that Jamie's Crying was written about a girl who lives in our community.
Never heard that.
I remember her from college. Yeah, said she was his niece, and that was an accepted urban legend. May or may not be true. Don't know.
I'm thinking there's a really, really good chance it's not true.
There's a really good chance it's not, but
it could be. I mean, it had to be
it
written
made
about
for
someone,
great.
right?
I majored in cafeteria back then. It was just called UC. Now it's SUNY Ulster, and I tried for a semester or two there. I found my way to the cafeteria and never left, and that's where all these legends were discussed regularly over the orange tray of adequate food.
Plastic Jesus is buff. He's all pumped
Plastic
up.
Jesus goes to the gym,
And
yes.
he's winking. Yeah, he works out.
And his hair is
for saviors. Have you noticed? Jesus has the best abs of any savior.
odd observation, but not untrue.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not talking about religion as a belief.
You
I'm
also,
just
by the
talking
way-
about iconic religious
Religious
like Buddha,
like Gandhi,
Buddha,
Buddha,
for
yeah.
instance. No,
I have a Buddha
no
belly.
Abs, yeah, no abs compared to.
You know what else Jesus had?
What do you have?
The best message. There you
See,
go. The best message.
You're so good at this
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, my eyes have been opened. I was raised in a Christian Protestant family. I went to church, but my eyes were opened later in life by those people who I've chosen to spend time with as friends, as to the message of Jesus and Christianity. And I actually would say that in many of the philosophical discussions we have, my stance is that God is the same God, the God of the Israelites, the God of the Christians, the God of the Muslims. We all pray to a God. We may have a different name for him or her, but the supreme being is the same, who shines his light down upon us all.
There's any faith brings comfort of some kind.
There you go. Good.
That's a precious little supply. And Plastic Jesus
Precious.
has very big feet, and he's standing on what, a pillow? That's not easy.
I'm not sure it's a pillow. It's
He
a
could
blue
be
rock.
hov-
No,
he
it's a
could
big
be
blue rock.
hovering.
I want to, Guy Greco, we had from Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, to give the plug, right?
Please, often as you can.
A couple of weeks ago, folks that listen regularly will remember we had Valerie Dwyer, the CEO of Arold Construction,
Yes.
daughter of Gary and Lisa Arold, great friends of mine. And she was here representing a group called Concerned Kingston, an informal ad hoc group of residents of the area, some from the city proper, some from outside, but still
And this is of all ages, because they allowed me to
from-
at least watch.
everywhere. And we had she organized and had a series of pop-up letter signings to send a message to both the school district and City Hall that this community is not anti-law enforcement. This community is not anti-school resource officer. That those people who, and this is critical, pay taxes here, who live here, and who have lived here for a long time, support both our law enforcement community and their mission, and as a part of that mission, the SROs, or school resource officers, who are police officers assigned to our local schools to keep our children safe and facilitate the educational process. And she was able, with no advertising other than a Facebook post, produce 959 signed letters to present to the school board. And I don't know how many thousands of letters to present to it'll be revealed soon, to present to the mayor next week
Now,
in support of these programs.
are these the decision makers on the SRO?
The school board is the decision maker on the SRO. They create a contract between the school board and various police agencies, the sheriff's office, Ulster Police Department, Kingston Police Department, perhaps New Paltz, perhaps Ellenville, because they bring in a local officer or sheriff or deputy or trooper. And
Are these people that are still on duty? Can it be someone that's retired?
Nope, these men and women are active on-duty police officers whose daily duty assignment is to go to that school and be there for the school day and school events. And they coordinate with the administration, patrol the hallways, do peer mediation, break up fights, do counseling, informal counseling with kids who are in trouble, and create a face for young people to identify with police officers that isn't the negative face portrayed in the national media, all right? Where police officers are portrayed in the national media in a negative light all the time. And
I see now.
you're going to disagree.
Well,
but
I'm going to disagree because
it's okay.
anytime, and this isn't even a disagreement with you as a person.
Thank you.
Or as my pal. It's a
Very
disagreement.
nice, thank you.
It's a disagreement with infinitives. I don't like always and
Fair point.
forever, and I
Most
just
of the time. I'm sorry, I'll correct myself,
Okay,
Guy,
all right.
because you're right. You're absolutely right. There are feel-good stories often
There are.
about.
But I
but
get your point. I'm not
Yeah.
saying that I don't get your
We
point.
turn the TV on, we see this cop did something terrible. By the way, he or she probably did do that terrible thing,
Right.
but that is not
And-
representative of law enforcement.
Right. It's representative of a
That person.
small of that person. There you go.
Of that
There
person.
you go.
And another interesting note along those lines, as regular listeners are aware, I submitted an application to be a police commissioner. I'm a retired City of Kingston police officer. I had 25 years of police work in New York State. I worked for the sheriff's office, the village of Saugerties, and the City of Kingston.
And you made a mean pizza, I heard.
And I made a mean pizza at Mr. Broadway. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Taught by none other than Johnny Johnny Mazuka to throw that pie. But I have experience training, and you get a picture, yeah,
With him.
with Jesus.
Might be my only
Is it your
shot.
first picture
Might
with
be
Jesus?
my
Yeah,
only
okay.
shot. Unless you go and have a shirt that says I'm with stupid. I don't think I'm going.
Interestingly, the Common Council of the City of Kingston passed a law banning police officers, current or former, and any member of their family from serving on the Board of Police
I
Commissioners.
remember you discussing this before with me, discussing it. And has that changed? Has there?
It has not changed.
Oh, it's the same. They still don't want.
They,
I thought I had read that they were thinking about reconsidering that. that particular
maybe they
fact.
have. I'm unaware of that.
Well.
If they do, I think that would be prudent.
I
And-
could be making it up.
and
I'm
now-
at the age here where I told you this morning I got to the front door and realized as I was locking the door and leaving, I had the remote control in my hand.
That's
So-
right. Sometimes I find mine in the fridge. Like I said to you, I go to get a snack, I put the remote in the fridge, I close the door, I go back, I try to change the channel of TV and immediately blame the dog for
Yeah,
stealing
it's
the
hard
remote.
to change
Yeah.
the channel with a ham and cheese sandwich.
It doesn't click.
It doesn't make any sound.
So now a recent member, a woman who served on the board for a year, a reverend from a church in Midtown, her name escapes me at this moment, but I'll look it up, has resigned from the Board of Police Commissioners, creating yet another opening. And the city, of course, has said they'll consider all past applications, except those put in by the numerous
Except you.
former police officers. And by the way, it doesn't have to be a police officer, probation officer, district attorney, because it specifies law enforcement. People previously employed in law enforcement and or their families are banned from serving on the Board of Police Commissioners. I think that's discrimination of a class of people, perhaps begging for a class
And
action lawsuit.
Do you know the argument on the other side, what the rationale for that is?
I do not know, other than they don't want the opinion of the people who have the most knowledge about how police departments
That doesn't seem to
should
make-
operate. I don't.
But that doesn't seem to make sense. There had to be some. misguided or not, there had to be some rationale for them to do that. I would think.
I'll reference a man who was a mentor to me at Kingston Police Department,
Right.
and also a friend. The friendship that developed over the years, both
Yeah.
with him and his family, was Detective Junius Harris.
Yeah,
Did you know Junie?
sure.
Yeah. Who didn't, right?
Iconic,
Who didn't
right,
know
yeah.
Junie? An icon.
Yeah.
Lived in Midtown Kingston, raised his family there. His beautiful family, by the way.
Yeah.
Great kids, great wife, great kids. Was an icon at the police department.
Well, absolutely.
A phenomenal police detective. Ran security at the Kingston High School for decades. And upon retirement, went to work for the DA's office as an investigator.
Right.
When he retired from that, he became a police commissioner and was phenomenally successful. Why? Because he knew how the police department should operate. And if he saw something being done wrong, he called it.
So,
And now he couldn't be a commissioner.
just to do the other side. So that makes me think even more. Well, there has to be some explanation as to why they would not want anybody's, even if it's not an explanation you agree with. There's got to be some explanation. They wouldn't just
Well, the folks,
arbitrarily say that we don't, because it makes sense that someone with that experience would be on that board. Unless I'm missing something.
you know, who's on the
That
board that
certainly
oversees
could be.
doctors? Other doctors. Who's on the board that oversees lawyers? Other lawyers.
And look how well all that's working out.
I hear from our listeners now and again while we're on the air.
You do?
Yeah, I do often, and
That's one now?
That's one right now.
Nice.
I'm not going to read it verbatim, but it starts with let's cut to the chase. Some local organizations, Rise Up Kingston, which is a division of BLM, are anti-police. They want to defund the police, which is absurd. And they have sway over our political leaders at the moment, apparently, because they're the ones that have did not want police officers involved in police work. And so until our politicians recognize, like is happening with Valerie Dwyer's organization, that most of their taxpayers and citizens are pro-law enforcement, pro-police, pro-peace and democracy, and law and order, let's say law and order, rather than pro-police, because maybe that's inaccurate. They wish to live in a society where laws and order rule the day, where everyone must follow the same set of rules, and if you violate those rules, everyone is subject to them. Do we apply it fairly? Sometimes we don't. That is what we should strive to improve.
Absolutely.
Right? I think we can all agree that whatever you do, you could do better. And we could do it
Yes.
better, but we need to have it in place.
Well, I don't think anyone could argue with that. It's
Well, no one in this room could, but
Well,
there's been an argument about it.
it's early in the morning for me to argue about anything, to be quite frank. Except maybe donuts. I
Well, we
wouldn't
had
argue
another
about
shooting in Kingston last night, so there's, or yesterday, I'm sorry, not last night, not at 3 o'clock in the morning, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, bullets
Donuts
flying.
somehow reminded you of this?
Yeah, well,
People
I
getting
was a
shot.
cop, right? Oh, we have a
Oh, I
caller.
see.
Excellent. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Guy Greco.
With the great guy Greco.
The
great
great
guy.
Guy.
You're mostly on the air with Scott, who's bulldozing me. Thank you for calling for rescue. Thank you so much.
And good morning, Scott. How are you today?
I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you?
Doing okay. I was just listening to your conversation, felt I'd get my 2 cents in.
Please.
You know what the problem is? When it comes to law enforcement, the people who know, as in the cops, often get the big no every time they want anything. It's like, they get treated like the enemy. I'll tell you a funny story. I used to work in institutional setting as a correctional officer, and I applied to take the job as a parole officer. Now, I worked with offenders in institutional settings, and the criteria said combined education experience. My experience as a correctional officer did not count in the eyes of the civil service. But if I had been a Boy Scout master, worked with the Salvation Army, worked in a food kitchen, any one of those, that would have counted. Now,
Unbelievable.
figure that one out.
You can't figure it out because it's ridiculous. Common sense does not rule the day, sadly. Perhaps it will again. We should strive for that.
It's unfortunately, until they stop treating police officers and sheriff's deputies and troopers and anybody in the spectrum of law enforcement.
And
like the
corrections
enemy.
officers and probation officers and parole officers all are lumped together. But you made an interesting point. Society says no currently to anything that police officer, law enforcement community wants until there's a tragedy. Remember when domestic violence became the hot button issue and the laws in New York State were changed and police were blamed for not adequately responding to domestic violence? So we fixed that problem and we responded to domestic violence in a different and better way. Remember when you didn't worry about going to school and getting shot until people brought guns to school, and then society demanded that the police do something about a problem society created, and we responded.
Exactly.
And now they want to take
You're
us
absolutely
away.
perfect. Yeah.
Guy says I'm bulldozing, so I'm being quiet for a minute, but neither of you guys said anything.
I noticed
so I'll
that
keep going if
incredible,
you don't say
that
something.
incredible silence. I could fall into it.
I could go on and on. Society creates problems.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
No, go ahead.
Now, what I was going to say is that what people don't realize is that, well, first off, you haven't been on the job. You know, domestic violence makes your blood run more cold than an armed robbery.
Absolutely.
You don't know what's waiting for you at the other end. And but the thing is that a police officer gets the call. You got the 7-7 rule when it comes to an incident where force is required. You got 7 seconds and you got 21 yards. 7 and 7.
Yep.
To make the right decision of whether you get to go home that night or you get a toe tag.
Let me tell you about domestic violence and how it affects police officers. I won't know. It was my first year. I'll say it was my first year at KPD. It was my fourth year as a police officer, my first year at KPD. I responded to a call in the Midtown area of Kingston for a check the welfare disturbance and found a crack-addicted woman passed out with a disabled child, a disabled infant who was in casts from, it was a boy, from his hips to his ankles that had not been attended to in days. He was dragging himself along the floor. She was passed out. The residence was, to be polite, a pigsty. And it was my responsibility at that point as a young police officer to take whatever action was appropriate. I was a broken-hearted guy. I remember to this day what that child looked like. I did the best I could do. I called the appropriate authorities, stayed there, tried to help the child.
And who was it that you would call in that situation?
At that time, Child Protective Service. It still is Child Protective Services. Well, you first call supervisor. You call Child Protective Services.
And they take action immediately.
They respond. Well, that's what you hope, right?
Yeah.
Often they do an incredibly difficult job very well. But the point is, these things affect police officers more than they affect anyone else. When you see, to the caller's point, to Ed's point, when you see these things, it affects the rest of your. I'll never forget that day.
Of course.
We're just human beings too, by the way.
Yeah, but I would imagine after a while, you see so much, you get a little.
So it jades you, right?
I would have to.
You can't help it.
You can't go home in an emotional state like that every day.
You try to rise above it. It affects your life. It affects your relationship with your. And when you hear these people from Rise Up Kingston, one said to me the other day in person at one of the pop-ups for Concerned Kingston, well, one of the biggest problems is domestic violence by police officers against their wives. And I want to,
I think I know exactly who said that to you.
Where do you get that from? That is by. I'll admit that probably.
Do they break down domestic violence by job description?
By job description.
Do they really do that?
There's probably the same percentage of domestic violence, maybe a little more in the ranks of people involved in law enforcement than people involved in society, but it's not the major problem. It's just the absurdity of this movement to vilify the police. It breaks my heart. Go ahead.
It'd be nice if they spent 5 days riding around in a car with an officer. They might get a different idea. Listen, there's a lot of good jobs out there. Everybody's great. Mechanics are good at what they do. Doctors are good at what they do. There's stress in all jobs. Just imagine having to strap on a vest, put on a piece, tap on your laser, put on your nightstick, dress up knowing that before the end of the day is you're going to experience violence.
Depravity. You experience the depravity that only a human being can do to another human being or an animal. We are in desperate need of better examples of how to live. And police officers provide that for many people. We're not perfect. We're not perfect. We can improve. We will. But to vilify police is a sin.
Yeah, when you dial 911, with apologies to them, don't expect a rotary. Expect guys and gals with guns to come protect
Tony, I can't believe I gave Tony such a cheap shot, Ed.
I'm just saying, that when you call 911, expect an armed professional to come save you.
When you call 911, something crappy has happened to you. I would like to use a more definitive word, but I won't. And you need help. And you don't call right. You don't call your priest. You don't call
the Rotary.
Don't call the Rotary. Who do you call?
Tony Marmo.
You call the folks that have some training and experience in how to deal with crappy things. Well, thank you, Ed, for calling. It's always a pleasure to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I think this is Ed. Am I right?
Yes, it is.
All right, good.
A little late in the conversation to make that determination.
Well, I did want to make sure. I recognize his voice, a friend. Yeah. And thanks for listening. I got another comment from another listener. Good morning, Nick. I'm glad to hear from you. Thank you very much. And Ed, thanks for your support and your constant commitment to the community.
Thanks for calling, Ed.
Thanks for calling. Have a good day. We're going to take a short break and be back with who's our first guest?
I think it's Bill Querbes.
Oh, all right. I
don't have the guest line up in front of me. I know Brad Jordan's coming on today.
I thought maybe it was the Amenable Armenian.
Oh,
but I'm not sure. John Maserjian from Central Hudson. Well, listen, we'll find out in a few minutes. Come on right back and keep listening.
Listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
100 years ago, there were 100,000 tigers in the wild. Today, there are as few as 3,200. The Earth's wild animals can't speak up when they need help, but we can. Be the voice for those who have no voice. Visit worldwildlife.org.
Central Hudson reminds you that summer thunderstorms can strike with strong, gusty winds, knocking down trees and power lines. If you see a downed power line, call 911 immediately to report it. Power lines can carry an electric current strong enough to cause injury or death. Stay at least 30 feet away from a fallen line. Don't try to move it or anything that has come in contact with it. And never drive over a power line. Remember, your safety matters.
Hi, I'm Steve Thomas for Habitat for Humanity Restore. Habitat Restores are nonprofit home improvement stores and donation centers that sell new and gently used furniture, building materials, and appliances to the public at a fraction of the retail cost. The Ulster County Restore at 406 Route 28 in Kingston needs your donations. Call our hotline at 845-853-7499 to schedule your free pickup. And thanks.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
Hi, I'm Ruth Quick from the town of Ulster. I support Kingston Community Radio, and you should too.
This portion of Kingston Community Radio is brought to you by Ulster Savings Bank. Visit their newest branch, conveniently located at the Ulster Commons Plaza in Lake Katrine. Experience the difference that local community banking offers with the convenience of another great location, easy access, plenty of parking, and a 24-hour ATM. Ulster Savings Bank, invested in community, invested in you. Member FDIC.
Continue our flash, boom. Yeah, there you go, the wind.
Lawrence he was animated. That was quick. He looked
Lawrence
like a
is always
shortstop
animated.
pegging at the first base.
He gives us the finger when it's time. Lawrence always gives us the finger when it's time to go on the air or off the air.
I'm not Dangerous Dan, so
You're
I'm
not Dangerous Dan. The
I can never be
melodious
Dangerous
tones of Dangerous Dan. We do miss him. We do miss him.
Is that what it?
I mean, Dan
The
could put a
melodious
crackhead to
tone.
sleep with that monologue.
Is
But-
that his demographic, actually?
No, it's not his
Oh.
demographic. And Dan's a wonderful guy. He's a great friend and a wonderful guy. And I think the amenable Armenian might be on the phone.
John Maserjian, maybe.
Is he? Oh, well, listen, I'm just sorry that he's not, as they say, in studio.
Yes.
Because I hate the
And he's
call-ins.
always
We actually
dressed
haven't seen
so
him in
well.
3D in what, like 6-7
I haven't
months
seen
now, right?
him since last year, I think.
No.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
maybe you, because you were in Florida.
Ladies and gentlemen, we'd like to introduce to you in this corner, weighing in at 165 pounds, 5'7", hailing
reach
from
of
Poughkeepsie,
88
New York,
inches.
a reach of 89 inches, the amenable Armenian world record holder, John Maserjian from Central Hudson. Good morning, John.
Good morning. How you doing, Scott?
Do you miss me, buddy?
What an intro.
I know, right? I wish I was 155 pounds.
I was being kind. I didn't want to guess high.
Right. Oh, how are you guys doing this morning?
Never felt better or had less, John. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
I guess,
Nice
John,
breezy day.
the question is, how are you doing since you're representing your company, Central Hudson, one of our underwriters that we appreciate immensely, a community activist, a provider of electricity and in our community, and also active. When I say community activist, they are huge supporters of businesses and people in our community, things they don't have to do, right, John?
Oh, thank you for saying so. It's our pleasure. You know, most of us are from the Mid-Hudson Valley. We were born and raised here, so this is our home, and if we're in a position to support our communities, we absolutely will. It's all part of working together. That's how we get through. That's how we get through everything.
So an interesting thing that some folks may not know, we had Mary Rose Wahalik from Ulster Savings Bank on last week, talking about the Central Hudson program that you all came up with for this hideous COVID crisis to try to be of assistance to local businesses. Can you talk about that for a minute, John?
Oh, sure, absolutely. It's called our Back to Business program. It's focused on small businesses. We feel that the small businesses are the hearts of our community and probably have the least resources available to them. Yeah. So we have put together a fund of about $1 million through our economic development programs to help reduce the cost of working capital loans that small businesses may take out from locally headquartered banks here in the Mid-Hudson Valley.
Let me put that in English for some of our listeners. If you have a small business and you're struggling because you can't make your payments, which all of them are, Central Hudson has created a loan fund for you with very limited criteria to qualify, and you help with the payback. Correct, John?
Correct. It's for businesses with 25 employees or less. If they take out a working capital loan from one of the participating locally headquartered banks, we'll put up to $10,000 towards that loan, towards repayment of that loan, and that may
buy you a year of payments. In other words, that helps you.
That will reduce the number of payments they have to make, right. and the total cost of the loan to that business. It in effect subsidizes the loan by up to $10,000.
John, do you know how many local businesses, and I think very significant in that statement,
majority of under 25 employees?
25 and under employees, which is as Guy says, is the vast majority of small business. And
right.
Often those most overlooked, right? But because there's plenty of money for big corporations, as we've seen in the news. But but small guys, mom and pops like me, my business for years, a mom and pop, a family-owned business.
Usually
a lot of your customers at the Mid-Hudson
Valley Federal. Yeah, usually a credit union like MHV or a small savings bank. That's where they do their business.
Right,
They're
that's
not,
where they do their business.
They're not necessarily the target for Bank of America or these very big.
No, in fact, I'm not aware of any program Bank of America has brought to the Hudson Valley, but maybe they have. I'm not running the bad mouth on them. I'm a client of theirs,
Right.
but
and I'm just using them. I'm not. I shouldn't have singled them out, but that's my example for big banks.
We use Rondout Savings Bank and Ulster Savings Bank for the vast majority of our banking needs at the company I used to own that now my family owns. My kids, the next generation, took it over. But John, do you know how many local small businesses have taken advantage of that so far?
I think it's about nearly 80 so far. We've provided about $450,000 in loan funding and grants to date, and we're going to be promoting the program more widely. We have quite a bit more funding available for.
Yep. Math is not my forte, but I read that as you still have $550,000 to put towards that, right?
Yes.
How can somebody? So let's say my daughter and Allison, her business partner who owns Save On. Let's say they're listening today. This is a company of less than 25 people, locally owned, a woman-owned business, a local women-owned business, and they're listening this morning and they say, "Gosh, we could use some help with that because COVID has just decimated us." How do they get involved in this program, John?
Well, they go right to the local bank. We do have information on our website at centralhudson.com. You can just under search type in "back to business." But there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 banks that are participating in the Kingston area. It's Rhinebeck Bank, Ulster Savings, Sawyer Savings, Rondout Savings, and indicate that you want to take out a working capital loan and you're a small business and you'd like to also take advantage of Central Hudson's Back to Business program. The bank handles all of the paperwork. We're supplying the funding directly to the bank so that the bank can reduce the cost of the loan to the borrower.
That's fantastic. That's helpful. It's innovative. It demonstrates Central Hudson's willingness and commitment to be supportive of their customers. I mean, let's face it. It's not like you have a choice. If you want electricity in your house, you either have to make your own or you have to buy it from Central Hudson.
Right.
So in essence, they could not participate and still be wildly successful. They could not participate in the community and still make plenty of money.
Sure.
There's not another company that we can go to.
That's right.
And yet, they still come up with programs like this, employ a guy. By the way, John Maserjian's a great guy. I don't know if you've ever met him.
I have, and I met him here at the radio station.
Yeah, he's a great guy.
He's a great guy for a lot of reasons. One of them is they employ my daughter there at Central Hudson, Jamie Burke.
Even better.
So they contribute to my family and my granddaughter. Appreciate it much, John.
I have a number of family members as well that work for Central Hudson.
Sure.
Yeah. And I believe, as we've discussed before, my buddy Benny's son and one of my son's best friends, Vincent, I won't use last names because I don't know if that's appropriate, but graduated with Vincent, played football with Vincent. Vincent's now employed by Central Hudson. And that's a job, by the way, that brought him back to the Hudson Valley.
Where he spends his money in local businesses, pays his taxes, correct. Kids go to the schools. Yeah.
Thanks to inept leadership in government here, we've chased away most of the businesses that have tried to come here and establish employment in our area. We haven't yet been successful in chasing Central Hudson away. So thank God they're here and they can provide not just a job, a really good job.
Yes.
Right, John? I mean, it's a good paying job.
No, it's a career for sure.
It is.
I've been so fortunate to have been working here for, some 26 years now.
Well, you must have started when you were 8.
I'm deeply grateful. Yeah. I like the fact that the company just touches on all aspects of the community. It makes the job so much more fulfilling.
What exactly
you're
is
out there
your
trying to make things better?
What exactly is your title at Central Hudson?
My official title is Director of Media Relations, but like everyone else, the title doesn't necessarily indicate all that we do.
Oh, boy, we've heard that, right?
Well, John, as you probably didn't know, Scott just really added to your job description. Now you have to save the Hudson Valley by bringing people back in that have left one time over political problems.
Speaking of things going on in the Hudson Valley, I think in Britain they say primer. I think we say primer for later on in the show, and this is really important because I really want people
bilingual
to.
that way.
I am bilingual. I speak both British and English.
That's impressive.
I have a degree in that. Brad Jordan will be on a little bit later this morning talking about the Kingstonian project, and that's something that's super important for everybody, no matter what your position is on it. It's an important thing, and Brad's taken time out of his morning to come in and talk about it today. So definitely stay tuned. John, on the point you just, or that Guy just made, children grow up, we raise our families, right? You have a family here, Guy has a family here, I have a family here, or we raise our kids, we send them off for additional education, whether that's trade school or college or working in some capacity. And often we hear from them, oh yeah, I'm getting out of here. I'm getting out of here. I grew up, I'm getting out of here. There's nothing here for me. There's nothing, no future.
I think that's everywhere.
Do you think it's everywhere? I don't
think
know.
All kids. I have a nephew that lives in East Hampton, and he said he hates it. He can't wait to get out of it.
Really, and people are dying to get there.
Yeah.
Well, what I guess my point was that Central Hudson, there's always government jobs, but guess what? We can't just have government jobs. When everybody works for the government, we're done. It's over.
Well, they do that in China, don't they?
Yes, they do that. It's worked really well in China.
I'd throw you a nice soft toss there.
Thank you very much. Russia, everyone works for the government in Russia. You need industry. You need private industry jobs. And Central Hudson is one of those. Now it's government regulated because it's a utility, but you're a for-profit company, right, John?
Yes. We are
publicly traded.
We are a highly regulated, publicly traded company, and we're hiring. We have job openings pretty consistently. For two reasons. One, there's a lot more work that needs to be done in terms of modernizing the energy system, but also there are a lot of retirements. And this is true across the entire utility industry. The older workers are aging out, and there are opportunities for new hires of all ages, and we're really happy that we're able to offer these opportunities, and they're great jobs. And I have to tell you that the new faces we see at Central Hudson are terrific. Really hardworking, dedicated, smart folks, and they're looking forward to a real fulfilling and valuable career. And we could use some good workers. I'll tell you.
Is there a particular? We have a caller.
We have a caller that has a question for John.
I don't know how to do that. Oh, caller, go ahead. You're on the air. Thank you.
Hello?
Good morning. Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question for Central Hudson. When people are on oxygen and require the huge concentrator in their home, do you offer discounts to these people?
We are not permitted to offer discounts on electric use. That there was a time when that was a possibility, but the state said that they call that discriminatory pricing. But if someone is on oxygen or electrically operated life support equipment, you should absolutely register that with Central Hudson, because we take special, you get special treatment. Let's put it that way. If a storm is impending, we reach out to you. If you fall behind on your bills, we'll work with you more so than is the norm. We try to take good care of anyone who is dependent on electrically operated life support equipment.
You're not going to shut it off, are you, John?
Yeah, there's a form that your doctor can fill out and send to us, and we'll note your account. And if there are ever any emergencies, impending storms, outages, we'll check on you throughout the duration of the storm. We'll actually have someone come contact you and visit you if we can't reach you to make sure you're okay. And again, if you're having problems with your bills, all you have to do is speak to a customer service representative, and there are certain procedures in place for those who are dependent on life support equipment.
John, where could she find that form to have her doctor fill out? Where would that be located? How can she get one?
I think the best thing to do is to call Central Hudson at 452-2700. That's 452-2700, or just ask the doctor to do that for her.
Ma'am, does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for listening, and thank you for taking the time to call in. We appreciate it.
And God bless everybody.
Amen to that, ma'am. Amen to that. John, you're not going to turn somebody off like that, right? You're not going to turn off someone who's dependent on electricity for life support.
That's right. Yeah.
Okay,
and we'll work with them to the best we can. But obviously, this is a person who has life-saving equipment operating at the house. We do need the certification from the physician.
Sure. And for those who are computer savvy, they can go to centralhudson.com and probably find that. But often people in those circumstances may be my age, or even older guys' age, older, and may not be computer savvy. So you can pick up your telephone and call what number, John?
452-2700.
So having had experience with that, you get a recording. Who are they looking for at 452?
Any of our customer service representatives can help them.
So just push 0.
If they get a recording, you can hit 0, right, and you'll be connected to a person. You'll always, unless the call volume is overwhelmed, you'll always talk to a person. But if there are more callers than we have operators, then the automated system comes on. But again, pressing 0 will eventually connect you to a customer service representative, and we have a feature where we can call you back.
No one trusts that, just so you know. Nobody trusts that.
It works like a charm.
No, it doesn't work, and no one trusts it.
Works like a charm. Works all the time, every time.
I never, ever
They're not
hang up.
I need to be patient.
I'm not patient.
No
the
kidding.
0 on my phone, I know, right?
Yeah. You're not patient.
The 0 on my phone is worn out.
Right.
Because when I call and I get that stupid recording,
when John
I
says
just
hit
keep
0,
jabbing 0, 0, 0, 0.
repeatedly like a pigeon with tap shoes. He means just once.
I can't stand automated answering systems. I miss the days when someone said, "Good morning."
You're an angry young man. You get mad
I'm an
at the
angry middle-aged man.
strangest
I'm an angry middle-aged man. Good morning. Thank you for calling Save On. How can I help you? That's what I want to hear. Good morning. Thanks for calling Central Hudson. How can we help you? Good morning. Thanks for calling the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union.
Okay,
How can we help you?
so and John, I'm certainly not speaking for you, but when we've just had a major snowstorm and there's electric out to 20 million people,
they don't have 20,000.
You can't possibly expect them to be there.
Fair observation.
Okay.
Fair observation, and Central Hudson does a wonderful job. I've had to call them many, 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 many times.
How did I do, John?
You did great.
Thank you. I noticed before you threw in Dr. Phil, which I thought was an odd thing for you to throw in.
Yes. Throw in Dr. Phil.
You said something, when John said you have to get something from your doctor, you said call up, get the form, and have Dr. Phil it out.
Oh, but she's here all week, folks. Don't forget to tip your waitress. Yep, that was your worst joke of the morning. So
it's early. It's early, yeah.
John, I would be remiss before you leave us if I didn't bring up my favorite Christmas shopping website, senhub.com. Last year's Christmas present for the lovely Yvonne came from SenHub. We bought Nest thermostats.
Oh,
now,
nice.
Oddly, once you've been the first year that I was married and I came home with a new vacuum cleaner, some frying pans, and an ice scraper.
Boy, you are a hopeless romantic.
This morning, I learned about my mistakes. By 7:30 Christmas morning on that first year of marriage, I was fully briefed on how to shop for Christmas presents and what not to do in the future. And I wasn't debriefed for some time after that.
Yes.
But now that we've been married for 29 years.
You know, the secret is SenHub.
Last year, I said to my wife, what do you want for Christmas? You know what she said? I want Nest thermostats. I said, really?
Wow.
No, really? I said, don't set me up like this.
Right.
She said, no, I want Nest thermostats. Where did I get them, John?
SenHub.
SenHub.com or SenHub.org?
At the SenHub store.
At the SenHub store. And by the way, I paid, I want to say probably half of what I would have paid at a chain store for them, at a chain hardware store or online somewhere else at Amazon or something. I paid about half of what they would have cost.
There you go.
Wildly successful in our home.
Because the biggest consideration in buying for the person that you love the most on earth is that you get a discount.
Price, yeah. Damn right it is. But that's not all we can get at SenHub, is it, John?
No, you can get LED light bulbs. During the holiday times, we do have LED holiday lights. We have special power strips that will shut off and on automatically so that you reduce the use of what's called phantom energy. We have low flow, those great low flow shower heads that are ever so
everyone
popular.
loves them, yeah.
Very popular.
That's why I don't have hair anymore.
But yeah, there are all kinds of fun and interesting energy saving devices on the SenHub store, and the reason for that is we're working with New York to help customers reduce their energy use, and it's part of an overarching energy efficiency initiative to offer these energy saving devices at a discount. So it's we're working with our vendors. We work with New York State to help bring the price down. So it's something that we're happy to make available to our customers.
Everybody listening who's yawning right now and says, geez, that sounds super boring. It's not.
Well,
trust me. Just trust me on this one. If you have a computer, go to SenHub.com. It's like a cool online. You go, oh, holy shit, they got that? Oh, my God.
I'm pretty sure they can't use that word on the air.
Sorry. I can't believe they have that. I can't believe they have that.
Oh, here's what I can't believe.
I got excited and I started ordering stuff.
I can't believe without any basis, without any studies or reports proving it, that you're blaming John Maserjian for your hair loss. I find that a little outrageous.
The low flow. I was never able to get it fully washed when I was young and had beautiful long curly hair. You could never.
Well, that's allegedly. I don't see any beautiful long. Yeah.
I could never get all of the what do you call it? Conditioner out. Therefore, I lost all my hair.
I see. See, now when I was growing up, I wasn't one of those rich kids that had conditioner.
You had to use the lard. You used lard in your hair, right? I know.
Comb my hair with a pork chop. Lard? What are you talking about?
It's gross. Combing your hair with a pork chop? It's disgusting.
Well, it's lard. It comes out to the same. I don't comb my hair.
I thought he was going to say combed his hair with a porcupine, but which is painful but effective.
Flintstone-like.
We're coming to the end of the half hour. I know it's hard to believe, right, John? It seems like it's been a whole hour for you. But just a couple of quick notes on the community involvement that Central Hudson has, and how much money you've donated to local charities. Just give us a quick blurb on that.
Yeah, I mean it's about $700,000 a year, about $7 million over the last 10 years. It's a combination of funds from our employees and from Central Hudson too. It's a lot of little stuff, so to speak. I mean, we're a big supporter of the United Way and of the Chambers of Commerce, but also the many not-for-profit organizations. And we have a program where we'll match our employees' contributions to not-for-profit agencies to help their dollars go further. So it's a great program.
Yes, it is, and we're thankful that Central Hudson chooses. By the way, they choose to engage in that. They don't have to engage in that. You're going to buy your electricity from them. If you want electricity, you're going to buy it from Central Hudson. For those of you that heard the nice tune in the background of John's, guy is trying to figure out. You ever see the Geico commercials where the old people? Sure, it was.
I didn't want to. It's a listener call me. I call you all the time. I didn't want to take it out of my pocket. It made it louder. I know.
I see. Yes, yeah. You know that Geico commercial where he's teaching the old people how to use their cell phone?
Geico doesn't give us any money at all. There's no sense going through that.
Right.
John Maserjian, Central Hudson, Director of Media Relations, a great guy, a local resident, Poughkeepsie, right, John?
Right.
Yeah,
I'm a Poughkeepsie guy.
Went to high school with Tony.
One quick thing I wanted to mention. We had some weather come through the area last night.
We sure did, didn't we?
If anyone noticed. And, at peak, we had about 20,000 outages reported, mostly in northern Ulster and Greene counties, also some parts of northern Dutchess as well. So we'll be working all day to restore those outages. We got about more than half restored overnight, but we have some crews coming in from the metropolitan area to help out. So we do anticipate on having power restored to the vast majority of affected customers by the end of today.
You heard it here first, folks. Breaking news here at MyKCR. Breaking news. Central Hudson is on the job. They're going to restore the power that was lost. That was a lot of wind last night. I was a little scared. I
actually have to go up to the towers after work to check on them because it was shaking my windows in my apartment. I mean, it was really windy.
Yeah. That's what was shaking the windows in your apartment?
Yeah, one of them.
Okay, good.
Yeah, one of them.
That's why Tony's not here today. He was drunk. He couldn't get home because it was too windy.
There was a tree down in the road by his house.
Hair. Tony's got beautiful hair like a judge.
Does.
So he went outside and there was too much wind for his hair, and so he couldn't make it at home. John, when are you going to come back in the studio and bring us some of those delicious chocolate treats from the Poughkeepsie that you brought? It's been like 2 or 3. We were in the old studio. We really miss you. We want you to come in. We appreciate Central Hudson as an underwriter. We appreciate Central Hudson as a community supporter. We appreciate Central Hudson as a provider of electrical needs. We thank the caller who called in with an excellent question about what happens if you rely on electricity to stay alive because of your medical condition. That was a great. It was. I'm constantly surprised at the depth of our caller base and the questions that they have, and I thank you, ma'am, if you're still listening, for calling and paying attention to the station.
And I would like to thank whoever just called me when John was speaking.
Yes, so he could remember to turn his phone off. John, thanks. We'll see you in a few weeks. You have to come in the station next time, or I won't take your call. How's that?
That sounds like a deal.
Okay, buddy.
Take care,
we'll be
John.
back in a few minutes. Take us away, Lawrence.
You're listening to Kingston Community Radio on WGHQ Kingston. On your radio at 920 AM and 92.5 FM, and also online at mykcr.org.
At St. Jude Children's Research Hospital, we're fighting against childhood cancer every day. At the heart of this battle are our donors.
Most of us want to make some type of difference in the lives of others. St. Jude does miraculous work.
The fact that no one has to pay, it's a place where everyone is treated as an equal.
Everybody is welcome here, and it doesn't matter your religion or what part of the world you're from, all that is taken away. It just gives you some hope.
It's just a nice feeling to put your energy into something that really does genuinely make a difference in a child's life.
There's just no greater gift. If we have the ability to help, then we have a responsibility to help.
Finding cures, saving children. St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. Find out how you can help at stjude.org.
Central Hudson reminds you, when you're doing yard work, safety matters. If you use a ladder, be aware of overhead electric lines, including the service wire that runs to your house. Even wooden ladders can conduct electricity with dangerous results. And be very careful if there are electric lines above or near a swimming pool, and you're working with skimmers, brooms, or other long-handled tools. Central Hudson wishes you a safe summer.
Introducing the YMCA. Sure, you know the Y for a swim or a game of hoops, but we're more than that. We're a cause. When you take a jump shot at the Y, someone else is getting job training. Practice yoga as a team practices her leadership skills. We give people of all ages, incomes, and backgrounds a chance to learn, grow, and thrive. So while you might think of the Y as the place for lifting weights, we're also about lifting entire communities. That's the Y. We're so much more. Visit ymca.net/more.
Think fast. In the short time it takes to listen to this message, a small flame can turn into a big fire. Several minutes more, and thick, poisonous smoke may have filled your lungs and reduced your ability to respond. Give it 5, and your entire home may be filled with flames.
Keep breathing. We got you.
Don't let your world go up in smoke. Have working smoke alarms and practice an escape plan for you and your loved ones. Learn more at usfa.fema.gov, because fire is everyone's fight.
Have you ever experienced a wish come true? For a child battling a critical illness, a wish come true can be a turning point. One song, one dance, one game, one adventure, one moment changes everything. Make-A-Wish needs your support to grant the wish of every eligible child. Visit wish.org now to help grant more life-changing wishes. Together, we can transform lives, one wish at a time.
Hi, this is Jim Quigley, supervisor of the town of Ulster, and I support Kingston Community Radio, and so should you.
This programming is brought to you by the Friends of Kevin Cahill. As a strong advocate of local broadcasting, Assemblymember Cahill urges you to support Kingston Community Radio with your time and donations. Your contributions keep KCR vital and on the air at FM 92.5, AM 920, and on the web at mykcr.org. Please join Assemblymember Cahill and send your gifts of $10, $25, or more to Kingston Community Radio, Post Office Box 4364, Kingston, New York 12402. Together, let's keep KCR alive.
So it occurred to me while you were gone, Scott, and welcome back, but it occurred to me that Plastic Jesus here, when he was a baby, he had 3 wise men visit him. Now he's got me, you, and Lawrence.
Yeah, 3 not-so-wise men.
I try to polish him up after every show, to make him look good.
He looks great.
He does. And he combs his hair with a pork chop. So.
It looks shiny.
The lard comes from the pork chop. You comb your hair with the porcupine. You grease it with the lard, with the pork chop.
How much money are you saving in conditioner now? Quite, I bet.
Well, clearly, I only need it on my back now. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's so hard to read.
You're scaring the listeners,
in the world for that.
I'm scaring the listeners. We're back at KCR, Kingston Community Radio, your radio station, by the way. We're joined this morning for the second, the third half hour by our great friend and underwriter, Bill Querbes from the Ulster Federal Credit Union. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
We'd be better if you were here with us. Where are you?
Well, I'm sitting at a desk kind of trying to multitask.
Oh, don't let us get in your way. Are you at work already?
What's that?
Are you at work already?
Oh, yeah. I get here be around 6:30.
Wow. You're making Guy feel bad now. He doesn't show up for work until 10:30.
Oh, I can't function at that. Good for you, Bill.
After he's had a couple of pops and a bacon, egg, and cheese on a hard roll, right?
I'm a morning person. I'm in bed by like 9 o'clock.
So I was at my doctor yesterday. Funny you should say that. And we were talking about, some of those challenges that sneak up on you as you reach and surpass middle age relative.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. That's right.
Relative to sleeping and going to the bathroom and things like that. And he says, well, around stop drinking liquids around 9 or 10 o'clock, an hour or two before you go to bed. I said, Doc, I go to bed at 8:45. Are you kidding me? Bill, what branch do you work out of?
I'm right here on Schwenk Drive.
We were just having the discussion trying to identify all of the Ulster Federal Credit Union branches. Can you name them for us, not to put you on the spot?
Oh, sure. Well, there's not many. We have another one over on Ulster Avenue, right across from Christine's Restaurant. And we have one in Saugerties also at Simmons Plaza. And then 2 days a week, we're down in Woodland Pond, Tuesdays and Thursdays.
That's where the connection with Tony came in. That was Tony Marmo's project, Woodland Pond.
Oh, is that right?
Back when he was CEO of the hospital. Yeah, he's the guy that came up with the idea, I think, of, I would say you can correct me if I'm wrong, but Tony's not here to do that. And he probably, hasn't woken up yet from last night's binge.
He would correct you, even if you weren't wrong.
But if I recall correctly, Tony Marmo was responsible for building Woodland Pond, which is a beautiful facility down in the New Paltz area.
It is, and it's fully occupied now, too, which
right.
is great.
There was a number of years where he got some negative pushback because it took a while to fill up. It's not an inexpensive place to live, but they work very well with folks that are getting to that point in their life. And so I think it's neat, Bill, that the Ulster Federal Credit Union provides banking services for those folks on site, huh?
We do, yes. And we also have a brand new ATM in there. So they're very state-of-the-art right now.
Well, as a man who's in the ATM business, let me tell you, if you ever have need for a privately owned ATM in any of your locations, I'm your guy to call.
I don't think I have your number.
I thank you very much. Bill, you're a relatively recently installed CEO at the credit union, correct?
That's true. They waited till I was 68, and then they gave me the position. That must have been a seasoning thing. I'm not sure. But,
congratulations.
But I'm a very young 68.
I'm a very old 56. How's that?
No, yeah, it's true. And, I was blessed with zero interest rates and COVID my first year. So
quite a welcoming committee for you.
Congratulations. Bro. Now fix it. You took took over from Rick Manti, is that correct?
I did, and Rick's still he's on one of our committees, so I do talk to him at least once a month.
Rick and Peggy are lovely people. Became friends with them years and years and years ago when one of their kids was graduating and they needed a tent, and I went up to their house and met them and found them to be just wonderful people, very, very community involved, very active, both of them. Both in his position as CEO, is that how it works at the credit union?
Yeah. Yes, it's president and CEO.
Do you get double the pay for having both titles?
Oh, yeah, no, it doesn't work that way. But.
I keep asking Lawrence for a raise here, but my paycheck's the same every week.
Well, titles are cheap, so they ought to make you like president or
I'd like to be emperor
or something.
Yep. I'd like to be emperor of the world, and I have already my cabinet picked out for those that I'm going to need to help me run the world.
Yes.
It's between you and Guy for running the banking division.
He's already king of quite a lot.
Oh, okay.
Bill, what do you want to tell us about the Ulster Federal Credit Union this morning?
Oh, I think that we're doing a great job, especially during these trying times. I know folks who were anxious prior to COVID are only 10 times more anxious now. Mm-hmm. And then the rest of us are still a little unsettled as we go through this. But as you know, I mean, you go around town and going into the post office, you see that heroes work here. And I think anybody that's an essential business that has people working and, meeting customers, and we call them members every day, face-to-face, really through a plexiglass. But as long as you're going through the protocols and so forth, I think any essential business where people are working are heroes. And I'd just like to shout that out to any essential businesses out there.
I think you're 100% right. I couldn't agree more.
Truth. During this nonsense, those people
we all know people that are a little anxious to begin with, so this hasn't helped, in that sense.
And when we walked into our local grocery store, those people, many of whom, by the way, make at or near minimum wage, they still went to work.
They did.
They don't have a union fighting for them to stay home and get paid like some other professions do. They didn't have anybody representing them. They needed their paycheck because that's how they fed their families, and they showed up and they went to work.
And they also didn't have toilet paper.
They did not, but that wasn't their fault.
No, absolutely not their fault.
Which is kind of odd. Right?
I thought so.
Paper, bleach,
I thought
things like that.
Who knew, right?
The number one item that people would panic shop for would be toilet paper. It took me by surprise.
Well, can you imagine being out of it and needing it? What do you do? You know, the alternative. Yeah, pork chop, use a pork. Not, by the way, a porcupine. You'd be very sorry if when you reach for the toilet paper, instead you picked up a porcupine. It would would not be a good day for you.
No.
Bill, you used to be the Teachers Federal Credit Union. Is that right?
We did. That was many, many years ago. And credit unions are known for their segs. They're a segmented basis. And we were the Teachers Credit Union, and we got together with Ulster County workers, Ulster County Credit Union. And so those are two bases, the teachers and the county workers. And that's still a very loyal group. They still use us very much. A lot of those members are still members from 30, 40 years ago. Our member base is pretty old at this point. I know when I came to the credit union 15 years ago, the average age was 48, and I got to believe it's closer to 60 right now.
What'd you do before you came to the credit union?
Oh, I've been in this field for over 45 years, so nothing really surprises me anymore. It's kind of a fact of working with thousands of people and having 4 kids and 7 grandkids. I'm not easily
panicked
or amazed by too much. So,
well, I'm going to take a guess that maybe this was your first pandemic, however. And that's
it wasn't. 1918 was a little early for me.
I wasn't sure how old you were.
My co-host understanding was there'd be no math on this show today.
Well, interestingly, from some of our other institutions, we had Ulster Ulster Savings Bank last year,
and Rondout as well.
And Rondout as well. Both of them went through the 1918 pandemic as an institution.
This is not their first pandemic.
It's not their first pandemic. They had to dust off the records and pull them out to see how they did it. Imagine being in the plexiglass business, man. If I had known then what I know now, I'd be a trillionaire because I would have gone in the plexiglass business.
Well, I think you have enough money as it is. I don't think you need more of that.
Carry this for a minute for me.
No, I have nothing to say. I can't. That's why I'm a co-host and not a host.
Well, you carry it, Bill. I gotta go.
I aspire
to pick up our next guest.
I aspire to be a host someday. So, Bill, we're both in the same industry. Did you, the adjustments for pandemic for you, was it something that you had plans in the works? Did everybody have to run around to get things going?
Oh, we really did. We had to follow, of course, New York State guidelines, and we're still doing that. People are checking in every day and doing their tests and checking off that they could work that day. So we keep record of that. And we have all the precautions here in place with the 6 feet markers.
Yeah, very important.
We're washing our hands all the time. We got plenty of solution out there for workers. So, yeah, it's definitely a process. And I don't know, and with the mask also. So I don't know when this is all going to end, but I'm kind of hoping that it even helps with our flu season coming up. That by people trying to be healthier.
It could work that
using
way.
The precautions, we won't all get as sick. During the winter months.
Yeah, it could work that way. If everybody's all masked up, that may cut down on the flu. You don't hear much of that side of it. You hear the doom side of it, but I hope it works out that way. I really do.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And we were probably as affected because 70% of our assets are in investments. And back in March when rates went to zero, that had quite an effect on our bottom line, as you can well
Sure.
imagine. So we're climbing out of that still, and dealing with COVID and all the precautions and so forth. And so, yeah, it's been a year for us. And I would tell you this one story that I think's funny, and my family keeps giving me a hard time about it. My favorite number is 2 and 20, and
Okay.
I was born on February 20th. So as I was beginning the year in my new role, I was saying what a great year it was going to be, and it's my lucky number and so forth. So about once a month or once a week even, somebody in my family will go, "Oh, real good year for you, Dad. Yeah, real good year.
Unless
2020.
The only thing that could possibly help you out, Bill, and I wouldn't wish you on, is that by comparison, 2021 is worse. And let's hope that's not true.
Let's hope that's not the case.
It doesn't sound like you're exactly Nostradamus with that prediction, though.
Bill, I want to thank you for being a supporter of the radio station. We truly appreciate it. Ulster Federal Credit Union. We love having you on. I want you to come in the studio next time. You're more fun in person. Our folks from the Kingstonian are here, so we're going to take just a 2 minutes to thank Bill for taking the time to call in from his desk. I'm sure he's wearing pants, even though he's on the radio.
I don't know how that comes up as a subject.
I'm not sure either. I'm at work, and I'm also the human resources guy. So
Yeah, there you go.
So you always have to wear pants.
Pants are not optional.
To work.
Thank you, Bill. Have a great day, and visit Ulster Federal Credit Union online or in person and become a member.
Oh, thank you very much.
Have a great day, buddy.
Take care, Bill.
You too. Take care. Bye.
So our guests have arrived. Is that correct?
I thought I was going to, yeah.
I like the new digs.
Yeah, aren't the new digs beautiful?
Good morning. How are you?
It's like a pro shop now. And we are live, by the way, just so you know. Bill we've said thank you to Bill Querbes from the Ulster Federal Credit Union, one of our underwriters. We have all underwriters here today. And we're welcoming in Brad Jordan and Joe Bonura Jr., right? Yep. From the Kingstonian project to the studio. Thank you for coming in. We've had all call-ins today, and I'm glad to have you here. It's a big day for you. The front page of the Freeman this morning, huh?
For the Economic Development Committee, yes.
Yes. Tell us a little bit about the Kingstonian project and why you guys are here, and thank you for coming in.
Well, I think we're here because you and I had spoken. You said you'd love to get us back on and update.
I'd like you on every week, Brad. I'd like you on every week, but
to give an update of the status of where we are right now.
A lot of challenges, and we want to talk about it. You're going to be here till 9 o'clock, so folks, stay tuned. Yeah.
We might need more.
You might need more. Yeah. And anything I say is not reflective of the two gentlemen in the room, just so you know.
And any conversation after 9 are continued at the diner.
Yeah, there we go.
Perfect.
Yeah, no. So we're happy about the study that.
Are you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. We got
Okay.
nothing. Scott, it's as far as we're concerned, look at everything, look at the numbers. We're very convinced, and I think we've been able to convince the elected officials that we've met with to date of the same thing. The council, with this Common Council, went 8.80 in support. The IDA board passed it out of onto the resolution for the school board and the county legislature and the school and the city. By a vote of 7-0, so we still, there's conditional approval. We'll still have to go back to them. We got out of committee at the legislative level. We have another committee in 2 weeks, but the study should be back by then. We hope. We didn't commission it. The county did. So, it's another set of eyes on it to make sure that the pilot benefits that the community will get are greater than the taxes that we aren't going to pay on it, because we are still paying taxes on it.
Yeah, I think that's a really important point for people to understand, because everything that they read and hear is always jaded by whomever it is that's writing it or saying it.
Yeah, right.
Our world.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. By the way, I'd have told the city and the county to pound salt a long time ago and walked away, and you guys didn't.
You know what, Scott? They've all been good. It's not fair for people to put it on the civic officials, because for the most part we've had really productive meetings. I think Joe will
It's just been a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of The process has been
The process.
Time is money.
The process has been arduous. That's for sure.
But it's some of the project opponents that simply don't want the project, and so I think what people, as time has gone on, they realize we keep solving different things that we've been asked to solve, and we've added so much to the project. But the opponents have never wavered. So, initially they didn't like the way it looked, and then they didn't like, the parking math, and then they did. Now it's the pilot, and it's going to be something else. It's going to be the road
because
closure.
they're opposed to it regardless of the facts. They'll
100%.
never, ever, ever let the facts get in the way of their narrative. This is a project that is good for Uptown Kingston, good for Ulster County, good for Kingston as a city.
Well, and the benefits that we put down there. So the most important thing for the taxpayers to know, whether you're in the city of Kingston or the Kingston Consolidated School District, is this project, whether it's voted in or voted out, does not affect your taxes at all. Your taxes will
Taxes are not going up.
Your taxes will go down a little initially.
Really?
Really?
Initially, they'll go down a little because we're taking a 35% increase on the two properties that we own. So we're going from $29,000 to $40,000. We're going to pay a 4% increase where the cap is at 2%, so you're going to go up quicker. We're going to share 5% if we're doing better. If those numbers are such that we are going to do better than the pro forma, we're going to share 5% with the city and school of any additional income. So it's Jim Noble, who's done it a lot of years, 20-some years is in the council, and the alderman at large said that it's he put it in the paper, as one of the best pilots that he's ever seen on behalf of the city.
It's just so important that people who are listening, many of whom are my age, or some even guys' age,
Could be
or older,
possible.
Understand in plain language what you just said. I have it in front of me in black and white in a press release. But your pilot, which stands for Payment in Lieu of Taxes, which is a program that developers take advantage of to help them because they're spending millions, in this case $60 million, to develop a project within the school district in the city. A different method of paying taxes. It's not that you're not paying
We're
taxes.
paying for the municipal garage. That's the most important thing. The only reason for this pilot.
That's what this pilot is. That's what it means, is you're structuring your payments in a different way to help you bring this development to the community.
Absolutely.
Right?
That's
correct. Some pilots do actually raise taxes and some lower taxes. It all depends on what the underlying property was paying before and what it's paying after. So let's just say we bought a building that was paying $100,000 a year in taxes, and we turned it into a nonprofit church. Now we're going to pay $0 in taxes. That may not even need a pilot because we're strictly nonprofit, but say we're putting affordable housing there, and that affordable housing is due a pilot. That pilot may lower the taxes that were being paid before. Our pilot doesn't lower the taxes that were being paid before. We're paying 40% more than we were paying before.
It's just structured differently.
It's just structured differently. Now, is it less than what it would be if there was no parking garage? And if there was no parking garage, we'd pay 100% taxes. But we were asked to come up with a project that builds a parking garage for the city of Kingston and for the uptown businesses to use at no cost to the taxpayer. And this is how we're doing it. So during the time that we have to pay $1 million a year, that's what this parking garage loses. The parking garage will lose $1 million a year. So during that period of time, instead of paying our $892,000 in taxes, we're paying for the parking garage. The minute the parking garage is paid for, our taxes by that point, this is year 25, are projected to be $1.5 million. And we could pay $1.5 million because we don't have to pay for the parking garage anymore. That's the gist of it.
Part that no one seems to be able to get in the newspaper or on the some of the negative comments that you read online. Joe, I'm going to ask you to say that again because
sure.
I think it's very important that people understand exactly what the pilot is doing and what the project is doing in bringing a parking garage, not just for your complex, but for people who want to go and shop in Uptown Kingston, who want to go to those businesses that are already there,
right?
And want to also visit the new business you're building. You're building a parking garage along with a hotel, apartments,
and commercial
retail.
14 affordable units.
14 affordable housing units as well.
So we're bringing, from the private sector, 14 affordable units, public restrooms for the uptown community.
Public restrooms?
Yeah, that's something that got added.
Thank you.
Yes.
From a guy who uses the restroom a lot. Thank you.
Well, so, and those are all the, when Joe talks about the over $1 million a year.
Yeah, I'll go over all that
but
again.
that is inclusive of the mortgage payment that we have to make on. That's what people have to realize. We're building the garage. We're financing the garage. We're going to maintain and operate the garage.
At no cost.
All that, yes, to the taxpayer. All that is factored in. And that's what the study's going to show, is they're going to look at what is the public getting versus what are we not paying in the taxes. Because as it's the $890 that we're not going to pay. We are paying the $40,000 to start, but we're also paying what's $1.2 million and
Sure, there's other things. So I'll back up, like you said, repeat it again because
important. And our
Yeah.
listeners
It's
are
very-
our age.
it's very important.
They're taxpayers. Our listeners are taxpayers.
Sure.
And participants in this community.
And I can understand, well, let's just be honest. Pilot agreements have had a negative connotation for a while. Most pilot payments, people don't understand. They don't understand how the pilot agreement works. They just think it's some tax break that this developer is getting. Some pilot agreements, just like some contract, a pilot agreement's a contract. So some contracts are good contracts. They're good for the taxpayer. Some contracts are bad contracts. This contract is set up to be very beneficial for the taxpayer, and without it, there couldn't be a garage. So if you start with the premise, which the city of Kingston has been working on for 3 different administrations, that a parking garage is necessary to help Uptown Kingston realize its potential. Right now, I don't live in Kingston, but I drive around the streets, especially once the business day gets going, trying to find parking.
Oh, yes.
And so that creates traffic, and that creates an issue of frustration, and you may get frustrated enough that you leave,
You drive away and you go to the mall.
or you fed the meter,
That's exactly what
or you fed the meter enough with enough quarters that you had in your car, and then the meter is going to expire, and you leave, and you're done shopping because
Or you come out to a ticket, which is always makes the day better.
that always makes you want to come back, right? So if you start with that premise, okay, now we need to get a garage built. How do we get a garage built? What does a parking garage actually cost? A parking garage costs, on average, over $30,000 per parking space to build.
Wow.
Okay, so if
That's a lot of quarters.
That's a lot of quarters. A parking garage, once you get north of White Plains, will always lose money because we're only able to charge in the Mid-Hudson Valley, whether it's Kingston, Poughkeepsie, Newburgh, Middletown, you pick the city in the Mid-Hudson Valley, you're only able to charge a max of $1.50 an hour. That's the going rate. Like that's
People
the
won't
high.
pay more.
They won't
They
pay
won't
more.
pay more than that.
Correct. And the monthly rate is $60 a month. But if you
So
take
you work uptown, in other words.
If you work
and
uptown-
you want to buy a parking pass to park
Correct.
in the garage, you can pay your $60 and you can park every day.
That's right. You can park every day. So if you do the math on what is it's just a simple thing. Pull out a mortgage calculator and put in $32,000, $35,000, somewhere in that range, and just do the mortgage calculator on it. It's over $200 a month just to pay
Per space.
Per space.
Not for the garage.
Correct.
Per space in the garage.
Correct. Then you have to add in the maintenance cost and the operation cost because that's just the financing cost. Now you have to maintain and
Take
operate.
care of the garage. In
You
other
gotta
words,
take
you
care
gotta
of the garage.
maintain the garage.
Which is why the city didn't do it themselves.
Right. So if you
Guess what? If it was profitable, they would have built it.
if parking garages were profitable, there would be a parking garage in Uptown Kingston. So fast forward, add it all up together. If you take the cost of building the garage, you add in the cost of operating the garage, and then you subtract the revenue from it, the garage loses over $1 million a year. Just the garage. So now we've talked a lot
Sounds
of
like government.
Yeah. So that's just the garage. Then if you add in the other public benefits which we're providing. So we're providing affordable housing. That was one of the things that came out of the project that became very important to certain groups, including the city of Kingston. And there's no program to pay for that.
Right. You're paying for it.
We're paying for it. And so what does that cost? That cost another $100,000 a year in the difference between the rent that we would receive if those units were market rate or the rent that we're going to be receiving.
You're going to accept because
Correct, because we
you're
have
adding it.
agreed. Correct. So then what are the other public benefits that are easily tangible? Well, we're building this pedestrian plaza. It's essentially a city park. We have to build it, we have to maintain it, and we're providing public restrooms on it. Call that another $45,000 a year. And that's probably low.
Yeah, I think that's a little low.
It's a little low.
Yeah.
So, but I don't ever want anyone to, so we're
conservative on the numbers. That's why
conservative, so we have no problem anyone questioning the
yourself
numbers.
out,
Go ahead, look. And when they see it, they're going to go, how are they going to maintain that for $45K a year? Okay. You add all of those things together, and then you multiply them out over the 25-year period, and then you take a look at what the pilot agreement is giving us in terms of a tax deferment or a tax restructuring.
A tax restructuring.
Because we're still paying it. We're just paying it for the garage. We're building infrastructure for the city of Kingston. Is what we're
Correct. If you take those two numbers, it's very clear that we are providing more benefit than the decrease in property taxes. And the decrease in property taxes doesn't mean anyone has to pay $1 more. When a new project comes along, it just lowers the taxes for everyone else. It doesn't mean that other taxpayers have to make up the difference. There is no difference because if it could just
in this case there is no difference.
In this case, because this is a good contract.
There is when just affordable housing is built, or just a drug treatment center, or just some other public project is built with a pilot. They're not paying taxes at the same level, and they're also not generating any new money. Therefore, your taxes go up because you're supplementing this public project. In this particular project, Kingstonian project, you're not supplementing it. You're allowing the developer to give a public benefit and let them restructure the way they pay for it until it's fully paid for, and then you'll begin to pay the full nut, right?
And we're not taking a property off the tax roll, which is important. We're actually
adding to the tax roll.
Adding to the and if you play the long game and look forward when the pilot ends, the numbers go through the rock. I mean, it's right through
the roof. It's astronomical. I mean, we looked. If it's like planting a tree, it takes a little while for the tree to grow and then bear fruit. Once it starts bearing fruit, it pays for itself over and over and over again. And that's what this project is. We're planting a tree here in Uptown Kingston.
An apple. Let's call it an apple tree.
Correct.
We don't get any apples from the apple tree for a few years, do we?
That's right. Well, you do get some.
And here's the numbers.
You get a couple. But when it really takes off, in terms of tax payments, what do you get right away from this project? If we go back to the apple tree analogy, you're getting jobs right away. You're getting consumers right away. And to the Uptown businesses, those 300 people that are going to live in this building are probably more important than their taxes going down by more. So, in other words,
they're as important as the parking right now.
And they're as important as the parking.
Linking
100%.
that covered walkway, not covered, but the ADA compliant walkway to Kingston Plaza, which we have 1,600 parking spots down there, as you're familiar with.
Yes, I am.
and linking those two, because the way I look at it, everybody that parks down in that plaza is a potential customer of every business in the plaza, and vice versa. So
you often go to a plaza like Kingston Plaza, because there are multiple businesses
Absolutely.
there, because you can save yourself some time. I can go to Herzog's and pick up something that I need for the bathroom, and I can stop at Hannaford and grab something for dinner, and I can go over to JK's and get a bottle of Captain Morgan.
And the florist for your wife.
And the florist for, thank you, Guy. And the
probably don't
florist
do that enough.
Guy just earned points.
You're right.
But so just over the life of the existing the way the pilot is proposed right now, the increase in taxes, there isn't any that we will pay. The two parcels that are paying.
The developer is going to pay an increase in the taxes from what you're paying today.
Which amounts to $700,000 over the 25-year life of the pilot. If you go to year 30, just 5 years beyond that, that number goes to $11.2 million, is what this community will benefit in additional taxes paid if this project goes through. So it's voting yes gives you another $700,000 through the life of the pilot, plus all the things Joe just spoke about, which is the affordable housing, the public bathrooms, the parking, the consumers, and
jobs.
So it's again $700,000 in additional taxes paid. Also, in addition to that, then just 5 years after that pilot expires, we're at $11.2 million in additional taxes. Go to year 40, $35 million, almost $36 million, and then go out 50 years to $66 million. So if we're playing the long game, as Joe said,
for our children. By the way, what does Brad Jordan mean by saying playing the long game? If you're someone who lives in this community and you've had children, you'd like the community to be here for them as well. You'd like a reason for them to stay here. You'd like somewhere for them to perhaps live.
Correct.
You want them somewhere for them to shop. That's what the long game means.
And that's the relief.
Long game for any community is that has a large percentage of their property, such as a county seat and a city, when it has a large percentage of its tax base off the tax rolls, either
over half, over 50%.
I don't know the exact percentage. You could be right, but when you have city government not paying taxes on its buildings, and then you have churches and schools and other nonprofits not paying taxes, then that tax burden is shared by the only remaining parcels. So what this project does is it takes a parcel which is city owned and off the tax rolls right now and puts it back on the tax roll, and that helps everybody else out.
So knowing this and knowing that you've made adjustments for the parking garage and the public restrooms and the affordable housings, what is there left that people are opposed to?
It's a good question.
That's the $1 million question, Guy Greco from Mid-Hudson Valley.
Considerably more than $1 million question.
It's the $60 million question, yeah.
I think some people are philosophically opposed to change, and they don't like the idea of a new big building coming to town because they like it just the way it is and don't want to see it change. I have to guess that's the reason.
And you know what, Guy,
the logic that doesn't even. But I think it really doesn't make that much sense.
But I think what's going on now, a little bit of dotting the i's, crossing the t's.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, to say we think that we're on a good path. We think that we're going to be able to, finalize this thing with the school district and the county, and they're doing their homework. We have to provide this type of information to them.
Have they had this information, or
we've been giving it to as they ask for more? Difficulty with the school board. They're doing a lot of stuff right now, so they're the one we have not.
And the pandemic certainly
they're the only
didn't help
one that we
things,
have not sat.
And Guy, to be clear, there's two different groups. I think Brad's talking about the decision makers and
Right.
the voting elected officials and
Yeah.
boards. That's a very different group than I was talking about. When we were talking about who's opposed to it,
Project opponents, we're not.
there's
we're
some
not gonna
project
please
opponents that we can't please no matter what. But in
Right.
terms
It's
of the elected
If you're giving
officials,
them $100 bills,
That's
they'd
the
be
truth
opposed to
with
it.
Absolutely.
anything. That's
Scott,
the
you're
truth
right.
with it.
that's who I was speaking
and it's a
about.
And I'm
It's a-
surprised that there's enough of those people that
There's
it
not.
has
No,
this
there's
kind
not
of
a lot
impact.
of them. It's
Oh, okay.
they're
They're
loud.
just the loudest group.
Oh, I
They came
see.
in. They
I
come in with bullhorns to city meetings.
They're very good at what they do.
Yeah, they're not. By the way, they're also not from here. They're not from this community. And I'm speaking for myself, Scott Herrington, not the project. These people are not from the community. They're not from here. They're organized from an outside influence to come in and stop. And to answer your question, they are opposed to people who are successful. Joe Bonura and Brad Jordan didn't start life successful. They built that. I can't speak to Joe. You're from the Poughkeepsie area. I know your dad.
Yeah.
But I've been a customer of the Jordan family. I've been a renter from the Jordan family. And my children have benefited from what the Jordan family has done for this community for 25 years. My son and daughter played sports on fields provided at no cost to the community by the Jordan family. Everybody goes with their hand. I bet you're the same in Poughkeepsie. Because I know your family is very well thought of there. You're bringing something to the table. You're not taking something away. And the support from within the community is tremendous. The opposition is from outside the community. Please, folks, don't let them influence what's going to happen to your community. Stand up, take a stand, call your alderman and call your school board representative and your county representative and tell them you want to see the Kingstonian built, and I want it built now. I was in for an apartment, but it's too late now.
Well, thank you for that. And you, KingstonianNY.net is where you can go to on our
KingstonianNY.com.
KingstonianNY.com.
Go to the Google, type in Kingstonian, you'll find it, right?
Yeah. But and we, just to show that support that you were speaking about 10 days ago, we kind of got word that, the opponents are putting this letter writing campaign out there. You need to get people to get support. So Frank Campagna, Color Page, worked with us, and we kind of created something on our website that people could go on. It's just, click on a button.
Share their support.
Share their support, and we're up to like 500 people already, as opposed to 40-some. So
We may have a
we're
question.
against. Okay.
Caller, go ahead. You're on the air with Joe Bonura and Brad Jordan.
Hi, Ralph calling. I'm quite convinced of the your presentation was excellent this morning, and I'm convinced that you should be getting the pilot and right away, no more delay. So you mentioned making phone calls. If I had to make one phone call in your favor, what would it be?
Probably the school district. I mean, the school's dealing with a lot right now, and we're extremely sympathetic to that.
Fair deal, but we need to multitask here. We have a future.
But we're still moving along. But yeah, we have not been able to present our case. That's the only body that we have not been able to get in front of. We've been able. There's people that have reservations at all levels of government as we start the presentation. But if you look at the success we've had, I think it's based on the numbers and the presentation that we can give them. So we're hoping at some point, once we do that with the school board and they get the information from us and are able to ask questions, and this study that the county's doing, we're obviously going to hand it to the school district. We're comfortable that we're convinced it's going to be in our favor to show that.
And your numbers prove it out. I mean, but to Ralph's point, who do you call? Call Jim Shaughnessy. Jim Shaughnessy is the president of the Kingston City School Board.
We're all your school board members. Really, there's 9 school board members. So reach out to all your school board members.
Okay, will do. Will do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ralph, and thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Also, please, if you're listening to this broadcast, first of all, support your local businesses. Both of these gentlemen represent families who are in business locally and have been for generations. and give back to their community. That's important. That's why they're able to do something like this. And I'm going to guess it's why you want to do something like this. It isn't easy, is it, Joe?
No, this has not been an easy one.
Did you think it would be? I bet you didn't.
I didn't think it would be easy. Nothing worthwhile in life is easy. If it's sports, marriage, life, kids, anything worthwhile is hard work. I had no idea it would be this amount of meetings and this amount of boards and this amount of committees and then another committee and then another board. We were talking about it yesterday. Yeah. It's been a gauntlet, but we're pretty much there. We're at the 1 yard line.
Really?
Yeah.
You think so?
I think so.
We're at the 1 yard line.
3 years in.
3 years in to get there.
And we've seen over the course of where we started, elected officials have changed. School board members have changed.
Society's changed.
The IDA board has changed. So we knew where we needed to start the process. We met with Friends of Historic Kingston. Right at the first meeting we ever had was we went to Friends of Historic Kingston. We said, okay, we know the challenges with the Teicher project, the height of the building, what it looked like. So we had to blend in. Then from there, we started dealing with the city. The city approached us on this. That's another thing. I assume everybody's aware. Joe and I were.
Well, they're not aware.
Well,
Tell
so
them.
we were going to do something on my side of the road.
Right.
Joe is a customer of mine, and we have a great business relationship. He owns the Old Orange County Country Club, which is now West Hills.
West Hills,
He
Middletown.
owns, obviously the stuff on the waterfront was already built and had been completed before we met Joe. We started working with him at West Hills, and then we went over to Poughkeepsie and did
Water Club apartment project.
So.
A very successful waterfront apartment complex, right?
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcomed by the community, very successful, benefiting
Right across
everybody.
from Shadows. And so we were going to do something on our side of the road, and the mayor approached us and said, hey, we're still trying to do something with this parking garage site and the synergies, between having both parcels. You don't have to go up above this current street line. The parking availability in the plaza that we could take advantage of. Where do we park the cars for the construction workers? The displaced parking we're going to lose when we build that new parking garage. All that stuff. We're going to run shuttle bus, put the cars down by the ball field, and put it so it doesn't disrupt my tenants down there, and it also doesn't. It gives people that work and shop in that area a means to get up into that district during the construction phase.
It went from a smaller scale, maybe 40 or 50 apartment project on property that Brad's family owns, to a transformative project that will affect the entire uptown business district in a very positive way. I mean, 40 or so apartments would have been a good thing.
Would have been nice.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't have provided any new parking. It wouldn't have provided all the new jobs. It wouldn't have provided the sales tax revenue. It wouldn't have provided the public park. It wouldn't have provided the affordable housing. It wouldn't have provided all of the other things that this project brings. And number one of which is the parking infrastructure. We could have relied on the parking infrastructure that was already in place.
It was already there.
Ours, yeah.
But it doesn't change. So we got involved in this process, not looking for this. It wasn't as if we came to town and said,
we want to build a parking garage.
Right.
What is important to note, though, we went to the city, we went to the school, we went to the IDA
That's
board,
right.
we went to the county exec. I mean, we hit every single person 3 years ago, or a group, right?
Correct.
And said, this is the structure we're looking at. And, as a partner with the city of Kingston. And we kind of said, everybody said, yeah, okay, that seems to make sense. Let's go. The project has changed. Back then, it didn't have a lot of the bells and whistles that it has now.
Right.
But so is some of the groups and people. So it's not like we didn't have any commitment from them, but the concept was everybody was willing to move forward based on the concept. And here we are 3 years later.
Had you anticipated in any way that it was going to be?
No. I mean, because
I thought a year and a half.
Yeah,
I did not. I did not think 3 years.
And the secret
By the way,
process, we took our time. We did everything right. We dotted our I's and crossed our T's during the secret process. And again, as I said, the one thing about the opponents, they're pretty good at what they do. They're a smaller group of
They're
people.
well organized.
Well organized.
Well funded. They're well funded by outside political organizations. And just so folks understand, 3 years, not 3 free years. You've paid a lot of money to get where you are today without a shovel in the ground.
And so have you, by the way. These lawsuits.
Good point.
Yeah. These lawsuits. So city government, county government, and the school, they have costs associated with these studies and
their
spending
lawsuits.
their time and in the lawsuits that are taking place. It's not just Joe and I that are being sued and our businesses that are being sued. It's the city of Kingston being sued, the Common Council, the Planning Board, the state, Kingston Uptown Business Association is being sued. Who sues the Uptown Business Association? The state of New York is being sued.
Neil Bender, that's who sues the Cuba.
But the state of New York is also being sued through SHPO. So So we have legal expenses, but so do you. We're all, who
So we have an
pays-
outside, just so people understand this, you have someone who's not from here, an outside developer who has come in and purchased a bunch of property in Kingston and left it dilapidated and in the condition that it was. That company is suing our local developers and our city and our local business representatives to try to stop this project from going forward. Why? Because it's going to be a successful project, and it's going to add to the character of the city. And this outside development agency does not want that. They don't want success locally. They don't want us to succeed on our own. They want to control it. They want to stop it. They want to use certain parcels as tax write-offs. They want to deteriorate Uptown Kingston, not benefit Uptown Kingston. And I'm being very honest about this. This is my opinion, not the guys here at the table, but I've done my own research. I've read about what's happened in some of these companies in New York City, some of these buildings. You need to speak to your public representatives. You need to speak to your aldermen, your county legislators, your mayor, your county executive, and your school board members. And you need to let them know what you'd like to have in this community for your children for the future. You want a project that works? You want something that benefits the entire community? You want more parking? You want bathrooms? Geez, as basic as, do you want a bathroom while you're shopping uptown without asking the guy at Dallas Hunt when you're saying, can I use your bathroom?
Or festivals. I mean, that public plaza is going to be a gathering spot up there, and
It already is a gathering spot.
Yeah.
I mean, I hope people understand. If there's a parade in Kingston, by the way,
That's where I'll start.
it has for years either started or ended at Kingston Plaza. At no cost. Nobody's being charged for that. The Children's Day Parade, the fireworks, the carnival, all these things occur out of the goodness of the hearts of Joe Bonura and Brad Jordan in their respective communities and the support that they give. They're from your community. Joe, you grew up in Poughkeepsie, right?
I actually grew up in Newburgh.
Oh, well, Newburgh?
Yep,
Okay,
I
yeah,
grew
the
up in
Newburgh waterfront, sorry.
Yeah, that's no problem.
So I met your dad down there.
Yeah, I grew up in Newburgh.
probably took the boat down a time or two, right?
Yeah, I probably had a cocktail, an adult beverage or two down there, yeah.
Yes, I grew up in Newburgh, went to NFA, public school, went away to college, got a degree, came back to town and started working in my family business.
Yeah.
And been.
How big was it? How has it grown over the years? Since
It started with nothing. You know, my grandparents are immigrants. My parents started the first Perkins Pancake House in 1972 in New York State.
Really?
Yep. My dad was a cook, and my mom was the hostess, and that's how they started in business. And they grew.
You actually lived in Kingston.
They got married in Kingston.
Yeah.
My parents got married here, and they lived in Kingston. My dad worked as an accountant at the time when he was here in Kingston, and then my grandparents moved from Brooklyn to Newburgh, and so anyway, after my parents got married and they started their first restaurant, they bought a piece of property in Newburgh and built the first Perkins. It's right next to where the Lexus Diner is now. And then they grew to 6 Perkinses, ended up selling those, started Anthony's Pier 9 Catering, and then when my brother and I came back from college, the only thing our family business, the 2 businesses we really had were Anthony's Pier 9 and the Poughkeepsie Grand Hotel. And we had about 400 employees between those 2 businesses. And then we grew the company to 1,200 employees between my father, my sister, my brother, and myself, and 9 locations. And it's just, work hard every day, do the right thing by your community, do the right thing by your employees, do the right thing by your family, and usually good things.
1,200 employees.
Pre-COVID.
Yeah, understood. That's understood. But that's you've got to be one of the most significant employers in Dutchess County, as Herzog's and Kingston Plaza is one of the most significant employers and taxpayers in Ulster County and in the city of Kingston. I know
These are premier properties we're talking about.
Right, these aren't slumlords.
West Hills is gorgeous. All of it. I mean,
Anthony's
all of it.
Pier 9, the Poughkeepsie Grand Hotel. Come on. Everybody wants to get married at the Poughkeepsie Grand Hotel. I'm jealous because we have an event rental
Everybody
business.
does get married.
Yeah, we want them on our side of the river. They want to go to the Poughkeepsie Grand.
Thank you. Yeah, I ended up becoming more of the construction development wing as we grew our company. And then we branched out into, multiple different types of projects, multifamily housing. But the Kingstonian is a little bit of everything we've done before. It has a hotel.
It's really a combination, right?
It has a parking garage. We have a parking garage. The Poughkeepsie Grand, I don't know if many of the listeners know, it sits on top of a 3-story parking garage that was owned by the city of Poughkeepsie, wasn't maintained, went up for auction. We had to buy it, and we had to put $6 million into fixing the parking garage so that the hotel didn't fall down. Because the hotel sits on top of the parking garage. So we know what it's like to operate a parking garage in the middle of an urban area. We get it.
And the loss that you incur by having
The loss we incur every single day. Parking garages are not a winning proposition in terms of economics.
If they were, government would build them.
Correct, but they're important infrastructure. It is,
you got to park.
You have to park. I mean, as much as we want to say everyone is, pedestrian friendly and can walk everywhere, people still need to get to Kingston somehow. And some of the people
need somewhere to leave their car.
Need somewhere to leave their car, and that infrastructure is needed.
You can only carry so much home on your bicycle. So if you're going to buy a few things, you're going to need your car to drive it back home.
Right.
Scott, you brought up a lot of good points. And the one thing,
Thank you, Brad.
The process we've gone through 3 years, going back to guys, would we have done it if we knew we were going to be at this stage 3 years?
That's a great
The answer is
question.
no.
No.
I mean,
It's
and the excitement.
You don't need it. By the way, you don't need to do this.
You know what?
You're both successful already.
This is to me, it's a great project and obviously it's self-serving because linking the two important business districts together. But as you spoke earlier, for our kids, this is going to be great for Kingston. It's going to be, one of the landmark buildings, and it is going to blend in. We're going to ensure that it's going to blend in based on the construction materials that we're going to be
People
using.
can see that online. They can go look at it.
It's changed completely from where we did it. But the excitement we had when it first started, Joe came up with his brother and Patrick Page, another one of the developers with us. And it was a Friday night. We walked around all the different shops and restaurants uptown, and just for them to get a feel. It was like we were just kind of committing. It was right after we had met with the mayor and a couple of the council members. And, what I liked about it, and I know the mayor and some of these council members, we were bringing their organization in partnership with us to Kingston to do some of these great projects you're talking about.
Public-private partnership.
And getting them here, and we weren't looking at just doing this project. This was going to be our project to start, but the excitement we all had was, and then we're going to talk about some other things. Some of the council members talked about some projects they'd like to have done in Kingston. The mayor brought up
3
some.
years put a damper on that to any degree?
I can't speak for Joe, but I
We thought we'd be almost done with construction by now.
I thought I'd be living in there.
thing.
I thought I'd be living in there by now.
And I think we told you last time around, it's 18 to 24 months construction time, depending whether we hit one winter or two winters. So even after we get these approvals, it's
You have 2 years to build it. It's going to take 2 years to build it.
18 months to 24 months.
Right.
And I think that's a very aggressive timeline to build a project that size, but you have experience in this.
Yeah.
You're not from out of town, you're from here, you've done this many times, both of you.
Start on one side of the street. But and I think the government officials at all levels now are seeing that, the process, something needs to change with the process.
Right. I was talking to one of the officials yesterday, and I said, take off my hat as me being part of it right now. If you look at this and you have other significant projects you want to get done in Ulster County, not just the city of Kingston, but in Ulster County,
anywhere,
you have another transformative project. You have to find a way to make this process a little bit more streamlined. Not saying that it doesn't need a hard
cutting corners.
Not cutting corners, but it can be done. There's a lot of municipalities in New York State that have figured a way to
use a template to have it.
They do.
All of the I's dotted and T's crossed
Correct.
before you spend any money on it. Yeah.
Right. Developers need to have some certainty and some ability to plan, because there's one thing that we're short on in life is time. So
can't buy more of it.
Can't buy more.
The only thing you can't buy more of.
So if you know a project is going to take 90 days, 120 days, a year and a half to get approved, okay, you can plan for that. When you think it's going to take a year, but it takes 3, it's really hard to plan for that.
Yeah.
Joe, I worked for Tom Perna, and I bet both of you know Tom Perna. He was the developer of in East
AVR.
AVR acquisitions out of Yonkers. They were developing the plot in East Kingston, going to put 1,300 condos and retail space down there. I worked for the man for 10 years. They were into the project for 15 years, could not get ahead here, despite spending millions and millions and millions of dollars. And guess what? They walked away.
Yeah.
They sold the property, and now it's off the tax rolls. They were paying taxes on that property, that 500 acres, for 15 years trying to develop it, and out-of-towners fought it, and it left. We cannot allow that to happen to the Kingstonian project. We need this project in Uptown Kingston, and I have firsthand experience with a developer that tried. Big, deep pockets, millions of dollars, spread the money around, supported everything, did all the right things. Great project. Too much opposition. They don't need it. They have developments around the world. They don't need this. and they walked away, and it was sold to Scenic Hudson, and now it's off the tax rolls. We can't let that happen.
I think that people need to, instead of just grabbing onto a catchphrase that's supposed to represent a cause, it's not the most exciting thing to do your homework, but I think if they're presented with the stuff that you told us here, and they look at it, and they just spend the time to read through it, to maybe answer the questions they had, rather than just jump on a cause because it seems popular, and think of the long game that you talked about.
Yeah.
Think not just of, it might be inconvenient for me when I'm driving. Listen, there may not be any reason for you to drive uptown if it continues the way it is now, ever. And you'll have plenty of parking when these places close. Yeah. And COVID has sped up that, exponentially.
It should be on the Freeman. It's because it's the only newspaper we have here. But this should, and I don't want to spend your money for you, sorry. But I know you've spent a lot already.
So along those lines, we were asked by actually some of the taxing jurisdictions not to make it political. Like we've made our argument to the elected officials.
We've tried,
and we've tried to stay out of the press. And we give them that information. And I mean this when I say it. And I think Joe does too, have a newfound absolute admiration and respect for our elected officials because they're the ones.
So good and patient.
Well, but Scott, let me tell you, they're the ones we've seen it firsthand. That have to listen or have to answer to the misinformation. Joe and I don't. So if someone puts something out there and a listener or a reader believes it, it's our elected officials that get that phone call and say, why are you approving this when this is the case? Or that, and they're the ones that have to say, no, that's not true. So essentially, it started with the city of Kingston, and now we're doing it with the county and school. We need to create this information for them as much as anybody else because they have to defend their vote. And they're, getting
but the people, Brad,
and we want to get it out. So that's why we're driving everybody to our website.
It's a very small group of people that are opposed to this. They're very vocal. They're very well organized, and they're very well financed.
That's why we're here today, right?
That is,
and you're going to continue to be more transparent than you are. It's not like anything's being hidden here. The information's available if you look for it.
Very important point. And and that's the opposite to try to say that we've hid. There's nothing that has been hidden. Even stuff that's not required to be disclosed, we have disclosed to the elected officials.
And now the county's going to examine it again and spend another $15,000 in taxpayer dollars to re-examine these numbers that are already publicly available, that have already been provided.
Streamlining come in rather than this duplication of effort over and over.
We could have done that at the very beginning and added and available to the school, city, and county would have been great.
We did that. We hired a company. We were told to hire a company and do an economic study, hire a third party and do a study. So we did. And then we provided it to the IDA, and then the IDA takes their own software and runs our numbers through their software. And so then they had to concur that our numbers they're in agreement. But now another study is deemed necessary and
at taxpayer expense, by the way. To your point earlier, at taxpayer expense.
We have no problem providing the numbers because we know our numbers are good.
Yeah, and the information is already here. It's all here.
The city did their homework and they did their due diligence. They asked all the questions.
County employs CPAs. Let them go through the.
We met with the assessor, the mayor, the full council, every single council member, and answered every single question. They checked the math. They checked the costs that we were showing, and we got out of there 8-0. And
we're coming to the end. People, I want people to be able to go to your website. Say it again.
KingstonianNY.com.
Kingston.
NY.
KingstonianNY.com.
That's right.
You can see these numbers there, Joe?
Yes.
You can see all this information that's been provided.
We're going to leave these.
I would urge everyone to take 10 minutes to look through this information.
And I'll put it on our website as well.
It'll be on our website too, yeah. And that's right, because an informed opinion is a correct opinion.
That's right.
Call your alderman, call the mayor, call the county executive, call your legislators, and call your school board member and president, Jim Shaughnessy, and let them know there was a letter available online that you could, is it still there?
Yes.
Yes, oh yeah.
At KingstonianNewYork.com, you can show your support. Get these letters, and I got a response from Jim Shaughnessy to the letter. Yes.
And that's in addition to the 30-plus letters we got from business owners, civic leaders. We had several.
Querbes is in favor of it.
Yes.
The Chamber of Commerce is in favor. Everybody's in favor of it. I want to say thank you to Joe Bonura and Brad Jordan for your contributions to your community prior to this. You're good guys. You're just good guys.
And their contributions to KCR.
And a big supporter of KCR, which we appreciate. Support the Kingstonian. Thank you, folks, for listening. Thanks, Guy Greco, Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union, for co-hosting today. God bless you. God bless America. Lawrence, take us away.
Thank you for sharing the morning with us and participating in Kingston Community Radio, KCR.